Hi everyone, in this video we will explore the cross-border towns with the main focus on German-Swiss towns. And before we start talking exactly about the Swiss-German border, let's find out why these cross-border towns in Germany exist at all. It's important to understand how the border appeared and divided the former single settlements, how it influenced them, and how the new context, Schengen Zone Agreement, changed everything today. Let's go! Don't forget to like this video if you enjoy it. In most cases, the phenomenon of cross-border towns appeared due to wars. There is a list of German towns lying on both banks of the Oder River before the Second World War. After the end of the war, they were divided by the border between Germany and Poland. The part of the previously German town that became Polish was usually renamed. Additionally, Germans that previously lived here were forced to relocate, and Polish people arrived to live in their homes. As a result, the town becomes very different from what it was before. For many years, the border was full-fledged, so it wasn't that easy to visit another side. Except that many bridges between two banks were ruined during the war, and were not reconstructed on purpose. This brought to the situation that towns were existing and developing isolated and independently as two different countries. As a result, today the Polish part of the German towns looks very different from the one that stays German on the other bank. With the implementation of the Schengen Agreement, the border becomes almost invisible. A lot of new bridges were built to connect two banks again. A lot of new revolutionary reintegration projects were implemented. For instance, Frankfurt-Oder has a public bus road that hourly connects to the Polish part of the city that is called Słubice. Same project also exists in Guben. A bus road connecting German Guben to the Polish Gubin exists and operates on weekdays. Neighboring Polish and German towns are more and more reintegrated. In many cases, you can simply walk between bordering towns and enjoy your time on the other side. In one of my previous videos, I told you about the Forest Railway Muskau. And when we arrived in Bad Muskau, I briefly mentioned that the border between Poland and Germany in that area divides the big city park into two pieces, two countries. And even simply a park looks different, senseless to say how different are the towns themselves. The architecture in Poland is very different. Preserving German architecture wasn't the priority. Due to economical reasons, infrastructure of the German side is better maintained and developed than a Polish side. So it's very interesting to compare how the same settlement changed because of the new historical context. Of course, the Polish-German border is not the only example in Germany. There are the same divided cities along other parts of the German border. Today we will mainly focus on the Swiss-German border. Unlike the Polish-German border, here towns could have the same name on both Swiss and German sides. Both speak German. The reason for the division was the same, the war. The difference is how long ago. More than 2 centuries ago, Napoleon's army captured one of the banks of the river Rhine. Some settlements existed on both sides of the river, and they became divided by the border. This border remains unchanged 2 centuries later, and often one part of the town belongs to Switzerland, another part belongs to Germany. As you remember from my last video about Switzerland, we ended up in Laufenburg, which is an example of the divided Swiss-German town. Due to the Schengen Agreement, the border is almost invisible today, but because Germany belongs to the European Union and Switzerland doesn't, there may be some kind of border customs control in this area. Many tourists enjoy walking on the cross-border bridge between Germany and Switzerland. The German side is very nice and calm. Here you may visit inexpensive restaurants. There's also a small waterfall right below the railway station. And right nearby there is also a war memorial to fallen citizens of Laufenburg that died in both world wars. If we cross the bridge and the border, we get to the Swiss Laufenburg. Besides simply walking in the adorable city center, you may visit the Catholic church and ruins of the fortress on the top of the hill. From here, you have a great panoramic view of the town, actually two towns, German and Swiss. German Laufenburg has its own train station, Laufenburg-Baden. There is also the second one called Laufenburg-Baden-Ost. On the Swiss side, there is also a train station called simply Laufenburg. It belongs to the Swiss Railways. The situation is very paradoxical, as on one bank of the Rhine River there is a Swiss Federal Railways line connecting to Swiss city Basel. And with this railway line you can reach the station Basel SBB. On the other bank of the river there's a German railways line connecting to also Swiss city Basel to the station Basel-Baden, or shortly Basel-Bad. This station is a special one because it belongs to German Railways Deutsche Bahn. Yes, a German railway station that is located in Switzerland. This station from a legal point of view belongs to the European Union customs area, while Switzerland does not belong to the European Union. Let's ride a Swiss railway line and travel along the Swiss border. And the next point of our visit is Rheinfelden. Same type of divided town as Laufenburg, but opposite to Laufenburg, Rheinfelden towns are very different from each other. German Rheinfelden is very similar to any usual German town. It's ordered, clean, but it looks simply like a modern town with a lot of private houses, and I didn't find anything special there from a touristic point of view. There's almost no old architecture. The Swiss side, however, is different. It is very cozy, the medieval city center is full of historical buildings. The town is not big, but it's a big pleasure to have a walk there and enjoy the Swiss mood. Now, let's take a train to Basel. Compared to small towns that we visited before, Swiss Basel is big. And there are a lot of interesting points to see. One is Basel Town Hall, Rathaus, a red colorful historical building. It's open to the public on workdays, but not during the weekend. Another one is Basel Cathedral, Basler Münster. Besides the cathedral itself that is worth visiting, you may also enjoy the panoramic view of Basel from the viewing platform. Basel has a lot of other museums and points of interest. It's impossible to visit everything in one day, not even 1 week. I recommend you visit the churches, walk the streets and parks. Basel city is a very nice example that Switzerland is not only mountains. Basel city transport is a separate thing that is worth mentioning. I already mentioned the German railway station located in Basel. But that's not all. There's also a cross-border public transport. Now you think, cross-border buses like in German-Polish border, nothing special. But in case of Basel, except buses, there's a city tram. Yes, regular city tram cross the border. Cross-border trains are not something unusual. Trains, but not city trams. Only 4 cities in the world have cross-border trams. That's Geneva in Switzerland, connecting neighboring France, Strasbourg in France, connecting neighboring Germany, Saarbrücken in Germany, connecting French Sarreguemines. This one is even more unique and deserves a separate video, as it's a mix of a tram and train. And the 4th city with the cross-border tram line is Basel. Basel is very close to 2 borders, French and German. And there are towns very close to the border, French Saint-Louis and Unning, and German Weil am Rhein. Basel tram number 8 connects Basel to German Weil am Rhein. And Basel tram number 3 connects Basel to French Saint-Louis. This is my video of how the tram crosses the border. Except that there's a tram number 11 that has the last stop right near the French border, so you may step off the tram and simply walk to France. Unfortunately, there is no tram between French and German towns in this area. But you may walk between Germany and France on the pedestrian bridge, which is called Bridge of 3 Countries. From this bridge you can see 3 countries at the same time. One more amazing thing is Basel Airport, usually called Euro Airport. The physical location of the airport is in France. Euro Airport is one of the few airports in the world operated jointly by 2 countries, France and Switzerland. It is governed by a 1941 international convention. According to the convention, Switzerland and France have their own airport sectors and their own border and customs controllers. So depending on what sector your flight is arriving, you will have border control of that specific country. Also, if you decide to switch between country sectors inside of the airport, you can clearly see the border between the sectors, and you may be stopped for an additional control. You know, one of the amazing things about Switzerland is that it has so many old houses and historic buildings. That's of course because of the neutrality of Switzerland, which saved it from so many wars. Some German towns along the border of Switzerland were also able to save its architectural heritage, because there were no active fightings near the border. So I really recommend you visit a few German cities along the Swiss border. For example, try visiting Bad Säckingen. It has a very cozy town center that stays untouched despite the Second World War. And one more German town that I really recommend visiting is Konstanz. Locals call it Konstanz, not Konstanz. What's nice here? Besides big Lake Bodensee with a very beautiful nature and mild climate around it, there are also thermal waters. Konstanz has great historical architecture that preserved the Second World War because the city was never bombed. That's all thanks to a very close location to the Swiss border. So I really recommend you visit the historical city center. On the opposite side of the border, there's the Swiss city Kreuzlingen. Konstanz and Kreuzlingen are connected by trains and by city buses. But because the cities are literally bordering each other, you may simply walk from one city to another. In some places the border is in the middle of the street. The street may have the same name on both sides of the border. In some places, the border is in the park or on the walking trail, so is not really visible. The border was closed by the fence during Corona time, but today it's not the case anymore. And this is another example of the border that cannot be seen. This road belongs to Switzerland, and this one to Germany. Switzerland, Germany. There are a lot of ferry roads along the Bodensee, and I really recommend you try it. I wish all of us had cities with fully preserved architecture and peaceful sky, just like the places that I described in today's video, untouched by the Second World War. Let's live in a world that coexists peacefully with no forced changes of the borders and no so-called special military operations that are in fact full-scale aggressive wars. Thank you very much for watching my video. Subscribe to my channel if you wish to see more videos. Feel free to leave any comment and wishes. Tschüss!